question is the defense, because Auburn's defense has been awful. They blew games last year against Alabama. Every game they lost last year was because of that defense. A&M, there was a late turnover, but you shouldn't be allowing that many points in the first place. When you're a team like Auburn and you're playing a team like Texas A&M was last year, it is just pitiful. But, of course, to the delight of the Auburn fan base, the defensive coordinator, Ellis Johnson, was fired the day after the Alabama game. So now, Will Muschamp is the one tasked with turning this defense around. And really, if Auburn can have a good defense, just good, better than last year, I think that can be a huge impact in the playoff picture. Because Auburn, they've got the weapons to be, they could possibly be a playoff team. What killed them last year was one of the hardest schedules I've ever seen, and also a bad defense. During media days, head coach Gus Malzahn called Will Muschamp the best defensive mind in college football. I mean, if you're needing a good defense, who better to take over than Will Muschamp, according to Gus Malzahn? So, yeah, if Auburn has a defense, they could seriously be a good team. All right, number 4. All right, number 4. Nick Saban has found another excuse. If you remember last year, there was a big controversy about when Nick Saban and also Arkansas coach Brett Bielema complained about the no-huddle offense and how it didn't benefit their defenses. Well, before Saban complained about that, who had he been knocked out of the SEC championship by? Auburn, a no-huddle offense. So, obviously it was just sour grapes, just him trying to create an excuse narrative so that he wouldn't be blamed for the loss, even though he came out looking worse. And then this year, he finds something else to complain about. This year, it's the fact that his NFL-bound players having to make their decision about the draft has distracted them from focusing on the bowl game. Even though, if you're a playoff team, you have players who are going into the NFL. So for one team to use that excuse for their loss, it's obviously Saban just trying to find an excuse for getting that defense torn apart by Cardale Jones in Ohio State. Now, if you know the Alabama fan base, then you know that this is how it works. This is, anytime they lose, it's not their fault. It's the fault of something else or some other circumstance. Because they're Alabama. They don't lose. They just get cheated out of wins. So it's not surprising just to hear more excuses coming out of Tuscaloosa. But it is, from the head coach, it's a bit childish. Why don't you man up? You've already won 4 national championships. Why don't you man up and just go play football? Stop complaining. It's just this spoiled program that they've had all this success recently, they've won these national championships lately, and then they don't get their way for 2 years. And it's not their fault. It's the system, it's the no-huddle offense, it's the timing of NFL player decisions. Grow up. Grow up. You're a college football coach. Everyone's dealing with the same circumstances that you are. Everyone has players that are going to the NFL. So, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Why don't you figure out how to coach these players when they're distracted? Why don't you do your job instead of complaining every year and finding an excuse for you not getting your job done? It's only been 2 years, and we're already seeing the excuses just flow out of Tuscaloosa. First it was the no-huddle offense, and now it's the timing of the NFL player decisions. Alright, this episode we're going to do the first 5, and then next week we'll do the last 5. So this is the last point that I made in that article was Steve Spurrier. Can he rejuvenate? Can he reinvigorate his career? Because it's been close to the end for Spurrier. Last year there were reports that he was considering retiring, and those were confirmed. It's now coming out that he was going to retire, but he was convinced by someone else to stay on. So Spurrier is one of the best characters in the SEC. One of the most entertaining coaches to listen to. So that energy, that fire, that excitement, can he bring it back this year? I think he can. I think he can rebound. He can have a good last few years of his career before he decides to retire. And the great thing about South Carolina is that, they struggled last year. But they have they've got a great home field atmosphere. They've got a great student section, a great stadium. They do the what is that called? Sandstorm. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, the environment around South Carolina it's always optimistic and upbeat. So I think they would be able to, the energy would be able to come back into Spurrier. I think he's still got a chance to have a few good years at South Carolina before he decides to retire. But I think the biggest question this year is, can he get his quarterback? Because quarterback's always been very important to Steve Spurrier teams. Dylan Thompson's gone. And so now they need a guy that can lead them through an SEC schedule. Lorenzo Nunez, the true freshman, is being hyped up as the guy that can possibly come in and do that. So, there's also Connor Mitch. Right now it looks like it's going to be either Connor Mitch or Lorenzo Nunez. But, whichever of those guys comes in and takes the reins at quarterback under Steve Spurrier, I think that'll be the key, that'll be the important part of whether Spurrier can make one last run. If Nunez were to come in as a true freshman and lead this team, then I think, for the next few years, he could be the leader of, a Steve Spurrier team, because he would have 4 years there. So I think he would be able to establish and trust with Spurrier, and have a good quarterback coach combination is always important. All right, so those are the first 5. We'll do the next 5 next week. Tweet the show at the Jake Mitchell. Email thejakemitchellshow@yahoo.com. We're going to take a break, come back, talk some Bill Cosby, talk some UFC, and wrap it up. All right, thanks for listening.
You're tuned in to a one-take
podcast production.
All right, we're back. Last segment of the Jake Mitchell Show. Let's see, we're going to talk some Bill Cosby and some UFC. What do you guys want first? I'm thinking Cosby. No, this, recently some reports came out about Bill Cosby. More details of his actions with women and, all of this. And about a week ago, I'm staying at my grandmother's house for a few weeks, and she had some cassettes, and I found a Bill Cosby cassette of, him doing stand-up, and I listened to it. And I thought, man, this guy's funny. Despite whatever he's done off stage, off the show, whatever, he's still funny. Still hilarious. And the TV show was still a great show. And that's, I feel like we've started to combine talent and off field in sports or off stage issues, because Bill Cosby, despite all his actions, still an extremely funny guy. Michael Jackson, despite all of the weird, accusations,